Okay, allegedly, we are live, and I have no idea whether my audio is working or not. By the way, hello. Hi there. This is Vinati here. As I said, I'll be going live one of these days with a notebook, and there you go. So that is also Vinati, but a doodle version of it. So if somebody could let me know whether my audio is working, I'd be very grateful. This is the first time I'm using headphones, like the headphones that come with the device, because like a stupid kid ate my headphones. I'm not kidding. It took my headphones, put it in its mouth, chewed it, and my headphones are ruined. So there you go. If somebody could do a hi, hello, you are audible, something like that, I'd be extremely grateful for the same. Okay, LinkedIn user says hello. Thank you so much, LinkedIn user. I'm guessing this is Sudeshna because she's literally the only person who knows about this live. It's the only one I told, rather informed that there's a live. Hello, Anna. It seems I'm audible. So, yay. Thank you so much. I hope thank you for liking it. Essentially, I get this question quite a few times, not on LinkedIn, but also like on an academy where I used to teach a while back before they spectacularly sold out. Uh, which is notes. Notes are very important. And for notes, you need notebooks. Those notebooks can also be like digital notebooks. So if that's your thing, make digital notebooks. I have both. I have digital notebooks, I have analog notebooks, I have notebooks I make on my own. So all of that. Anyway, so this is one of the notebooks, and as you can see, this notebook started in 2017, and it has the flower moved. It has ended in 2020. And because this book ended, I was like, okay, let me kind of show it to people. So there are many ways in which you can notes, right? This is the style I prefer. I will take a headline, which is where I will put who the notes are from, as in something I saw, heard, read, which inspired me to write, say, whatever, so, so that you know that you have to assign credit to that thought. So anything that is inspired by whatever it is you written, it's noted down so as to avoid plagiarism, because we do not plagiarize, even thought plagiarism. So yeah, you should always remember the sources of your information, your notes. Thank you so much. I have no idea how to pronounce your name. Bad Harry Yanto. I hope I don't want to mess it up, but yeah, thank you so much for appreciating uh, the mess. Anyway, so you make a note of this sort of inspiration, okay? Because we, as I said, do not even do thought plagiarism. And then you move on to making your notes, right? And then you also do this. This is called tagging. Now you can purchase specific tabs. You can, make your own, whatever, but I use washi tape. This amazing thing that Japan came up with, because obviously Japan and stationery. There's two things that you have to experience, uh, you know, once in your life. Anyway, so this is a washi tape, and I have used washi tapes all the way to tab the notes, so as in it has to be something that works for you. I get what you mean with disorganized. I also used to be disorganized, but then I got into watching a lot of organization videos and reading a lot of organization books, etc. So that's where I learned it. So create tabs using washi tape so that you know that this is where the new thought or new note or something like that begins. It's simple. It's like a sellotape, but a very pretty sellotape made out of paper. So there you go. Tab everything, catalog everything, and also have like an index. So this is my index, and on my Instagram, I kind of showed how to make this. So yeah, you can check out the video there. You have your index like this. Okay, this is what all your notes are about. As you can see, it's not very organized, but it works for me. So find out a system that works for you and stick with it. So this is something I used to do for my Instagram, which probably makes sense because of the aesthetic, right? You've got the babies flowers, you've got the tiny little bookshelf. Uh, then you've got this nice little paper. You've got everything looking as pretty possible, which is not, which is not what it's actually about. But pretty things, I like to have pretty things. So there you go. Thank you so much, Aja Moinuddin. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name. I'm glad you like it, Prem Kumar Singh. Because why can't we have the Instagram aesthetic on LinkedIn, right? Don't have to make everything about our faces. I'm going to put my flowers on the side for a little bit and bring the notebook to the center of the frame. This is just at the end of every notebook that I finish. What I do is, yes, Anna, you will definitely get lost reading my notes because, yeah, I am really proud of how amazing my notes are. There's a video of this on YouTube where I've shown like all the 16 odd notebooks I have. Most of them are notebooks that I made on my own because I learned how to do Japanese binding and I was like, we have to use this. But anyway, yeah, I make good notes. I'm proud of that. That's a skill I have. So yeah, I'll definitely share my notes with you. When I come to your house, I'll bring them for you, right? Enjoy getting lost in them. Anyway, so coming to this is something that I've done from my Instagram in the past, which is whenever I shut off one of these notebooks, right, what I do is I read off my index. And generally, my index has these things. Thanks so much, LinkedIn user who I'm guessing is either Janki or Sudeshna. Whichever one of you it is, thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Anna. I tried. It's not always my creativity. It's like going to YouTube, getting lost there, and some kind of a rabbit hole, and coming up with some new skills. So yeah, the weird organization tactics, all of that. I saw so many of these videos on YouTube back in the day. Anything to not go to college and stay back in your room in the hostel. So yeah, that's what it was. Anyway, coming to this page, which is this is something I do for the Instagram and the YouTube, which is read out index. Generally, this index contains things I need a note on. So I don't make notes on things that are bad, as in it was so awful. This is not in my notes. My note contains something interesting I saw in a book, something amazing I heard in a podcast, something of that sort, So the first one is Aaron Sorkin's The Newsroom. Now, Aaron Sorkin is one of my favorite writers. He's more of a screenwriter, but he is so good at Sorkinisms. He writes from the heart. His writing doesn't make practical sense. As in, you can't have 100% well-informed electorate that only votes on issues and doesn't vote on labels. But it feels so good when you hear lines like these. So yeah, every time I watch or rewatch an Aaron Sorkin show, because of course I rewatch the Whistling and the Newsroom. Like you can't be a Sorkin fan without doing that. I take notes, and there's some new things I discover. So yeah, that's essentially call this a list of recommendations made by a weird, awkward nerd. So there you go. Then there is this amazing TED talk by Jaron Lanier, who is referred to as the father of VR, virtual reality. And he talks about how we need to remake the internet. And this was before the social dilemma and all this movements that we have on data privacy, all of this. Jaron Lanier has been talking about this issue since forever. And the first time I heard about the internet having some problematic undertones to it was before the whole anonymous things happened, anonymous movement happened, Occupy Wall Street, all of that. Before all of that, Jaron was talking about this, and one of his TED talks is kind of proof. You know that Bill Gates TED talk that resurfaced during the pandemic, something like that. He predicted everything that we are seeing wrong with the internet in a flippant TED talk. So yeah, this was very amazing to listen to in retrospect. Then there is Salman Rushdie's Midnight Children, which is a great take on magical realism and also kind of different commentary on the way partition and all of that happened. A different take, a take fueled by emotions and reality simultaneously. So yeah, something that you could read. Then I was researching science fiction angles for a book that I am currently working on, science fiction book, which is where all the A. Chandler books come in. So it's The Hard Way Up, Contraband from Outer Space, Spartan Planet, all of this. This was all research mode for science fiction writing. Because again, you have your, thank you so much, Rohit Pal, you have your common uh, everyday science fiction books that we've all heard about, very popular for obvious reasons, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. All these are great science fiction books. But we don't have the sci-fi bit explained the way that you'd typically want from science fiction. What we get more of is fiction. So I was looking into books that would have more of the science as well because I wanted to do a balance. And of course, I'm failing spectacularly in doing so right now as I'm working on my book. But to create something, you also have to experience something. Now, I can't go in outer space and live the outer space life. At least not yet. So living vicariously through it by other people is what I can do. So all of these science fiction books, they were great science fiction. Not fiction, but they were good on the science. So there you go. Then I think most of my Indian friends know about Sacred Games. Very good book. Don't know about the TV show, but yeah, it had some very punchy dialogue. And the reason why I also note down good dialogue from TV shows is because TV shows is writing that definitely sells. Okay, like nothing in this world is as popular as movies or TV shows these days. So if you figure out how those kinds of writing work, you can probably fix loopholes in the work that you do. That's just a theory of mine, which is why I also take notes from TV shows. And as some of my friends already know, I also take notes during conversations we have because it's like, okay, hold on a minute. I need to write this something you said, and I'm going to hold it for whenever it is you write a book or something. Because uh, having conversations and then like forgetting about them is just not my thing. So yeah, I always have notes uh, going on with me. So yeah, I'm pretty weird, I know, but if you want to be a writer, you have to be on all the time in the sense that you don't want to forget something you saw, or you don't want to like miss out on a great idea you had, some of your friends had, and like just let it go. Because yeah, I agree. It's a great point. Like I realized this while reading the Chandler books because like uh, we see and hear so much, but then we just let it go. So yeah, I take notes from TV shows also. Coming to the next one, you have Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish. Now this was a very immature book. Okay, like she doesn't give you any yeah, exactly. That's the one I was talking about. What about taking notes from those? That's exactly what I was talking about, which is when I'm having conversations with friends and someone says something awesome, I'll be like, okay, hold on, let me get my creepy notes. And yeah, and what this is about because I have taken some creepy notes during calls we have had. So yeah, it's very helpful for when you think back, because when you have great conversations, you're bound to have great insights, right? And if you're just gonna let it go and leave it to your brain farty brain, yeah, they might fly away. I don't want that. So yeah, I'm holding some lines down for you guys as well. As you already know, whenever it is you decide to write a book, just hit me up and I'll share the photographs of the call notes. So there you go. Okay, coming back to where I left it off. Very short book, but it was a book that spoke to the heart. Okay, like The Last Black Unicorn is the story of Tiffany Haddish's life, how she came from nothing, very sad life, and became one of the most uh, like hilarious body comedians out there, right? And it's not a book in the sense of what you expect out of good books, but it's a book that hits you in the feels. And to me, that's a good book. Oh, yes. I'm hoping you'd love this. That's probably why we are friends, Anna. So there you go. Anyway, so moving on, we have The Man in the High Castle. So The Man in the High Castle is also a TV show. I didn't see all of it. I really like the premise. And I don't want to spoil it, but this is great alternate reality type of a thing. And it kind of gave me an idea for a short story, which I'm sitting on. I haven't started working on it because a lot of it feels like completely inspired from the TV show. And again, as I said, I do not plagiarize. I don't like to plagiarize. So it's like, what's the point? You know, if you can't make a distinction between inspired by and plagiarized, don't do it. So yeah, I did get the idea, but I haven't really done anything about that idea. Then The Wire. So a lot of people were like, you have to watch The Wire. It's a great show about police and how they go after organized crime. And yeah, I can totally see the hype because we don't realize the kind of manpower that goes behind catching like these big criminals, and articles or documentaries, they don't do justice to the actual process and to the actual humans involved in that entire situation. So yeah, watching the show was one rabbit hole that led me to another, like police scanners and what weird things people do with police scanners, the wiretap, etc., etc. So yeah, that was a great show, not just for the Idris Alba factor, sorry, but also for the topic factor. Anyway, moving on, we have, oh my God, this is one great book from India that you have to read. It's called The Cowboys of Raw. Raw, for those of you who don't know, is the research and analytical wing of India. It's the Indian CIA, okay? Down the Memory Lane by B. Raman. So B. Raman was, unfortunately, it's late B. Raman now, but it, I think I'm messing it up. I don't really know, but yeah, Cowboys. Cow stands for Aaron Cow, who is referred to as the guy that prepared the research and analytical wing, right? So India didn't, of course, we are kind of a new country. We were born in 1947, and since then we have been like going through adversity after adversity, be it a famine, be it the partition, be it so many things. uh, so how is it that we are relatively safe from external kind of attacks and stuff like that? This book kind of was a great insight to that, because while we love to criticize, like we the Indians, we love to criticize our army for some of the things that they do. What we don't realize is for uh, for almost everything that we see, there are so many things that we don't see, right? Like we know about the terror attacks of 26/11, but we don't know about the thousands of other terror attacks that were plotted, courtesy of RAW and the Indian military and Arab military and all the other things involved. So me personally, I was very clueless about this because I'm racist. I am not into war. Like the left liberal in my name is really left liberal. So of course, war isn't something I think about a lot. But it's who kind of made me think, because when we become an ostrich, close our eyes and go into the sand, we miss out on so much. So yeah, amazing book. If you are interested into Indian history, you should check out Cowboys of Raw. Down the Memory Lane by German. Uh, Mehnat Tahir. Oh my God, I can't pronounce the back part. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but yeah, Mehmet Tahir. Thank you so much. I hope you forgive me for messing up your name. I'm really bad at names. I apologize. Then I went on a Jeffrey Archer spree because I was traveling. When I travel, I read very, very easy books, as in books that I won't get bored of reading, books that have a lot of fast moving plot. So Jeffrey Archer is an expert at that. Jeffrey Archer, I think Dan Brown too, like, light books like that. Books that are not really much of a strain on your head. But again, the reason the notes on this exist is, and this is by the way, this is my traveling notebook. This is not a notebook that the notebooks I have in my house, they are bigger. The traveling notebook has to be small because I don't have those big ass purses. I have a small purse. So small purse requires small notebook. There you go. The reason why the notes on books like these, Prodigal Daughter and Shall We Tell the President, the collected short stories by Jeffrey Archer, Only Time Will Tell by Jeffrey Archer, uh, uh, essentially what that does is you see how those books are so popular when you read them. And then it plays on every stereotype in the book. It kind of uses this very catchy way of moving plot around, which is aspirational. Like, you don't really want to recreate, but you have so much fun reading it that you can't put it down. You know what I mean? So yeah, I read Cain and Abel years back, and then I heard that Cain and Abel had a sequel, and that was the Prodigal Daughter. So I had to read it, and I actually enjoy these books because, as I said, they make for light reading. You really enjoy the plot without the logic. Oh, thank you so much, Yogeshwar Dubey. I love how you think that. Oh my God, of course. There is this great book. Hold on, let me find the name so I don't mess it up. It's called How to Read Book. It's by J. Verma Adler. Okay, this is one book that you guys can check out, because unfortunately, courtesy of social media, reading has become this thing which is you have to do it for the show and not for what reading is actually supposed to be about, which is enlightenment. You read if you want to be enlightened, right? You want to figure something out that wasn't even on your radar, which is why I read all sorts of books, like even if it is YA. I am not really the young adult genre, but I still read it occasionally because you never know, right? You never know what a book might have in store for you. So if you have a bias against something and you don't read it, that's you losing out. Yeah, I do love to read things that I don't necessarily relate to, because that's where the thought processes lie. Like, we won't have that many thoughts about things we know because we already know them. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, and I love that you are also very similar in that regard, even if you don't acknowledge it. So there you go. One more reason into why we are friends. Moving on, there's a TED Talk, and guys, you have to see the TED Talk because specifically if you are a certain age, like if you are above 30 and you keep whinging about or whining about millennials, and you keep whining about these young people these days, stuff like that. What you guys don't realize is, yeah, most young people today were born in privilege. Okay, we were born in these happy, prosperous times. Everything was fun, and then suddenly life kind of hit us in the face with inflation and all these weird things. Right? Which is that's why millennials are complaining. They were not born in disparity, they were born in prosperity. And now they're living in disparity. So before millennial generation, what you had was people had shittier childhoods and then they improved their lives as they grew up. Now it's reverse. People had great childhoods and then it became increasingly shitty. Okay, that's why millennials complain so much. And Rutger's talk has nothing to do with this. His talk is poverty isn't a lack of character, it's a lack of cash. So Rutger Bregman has this amazing book, which is a book you have to read called Utopia for Realists. Okay, this is an amazing book. I highly recommend reading this book because we have these weird, weird presuppositions about why people are poor. People are not poor because they're lazy. Okay, not all of them. Some of them might be, but we have so many poor people because there is a cash problem, right? Or more specifically, there's a hoarding problem, and there's a version of society that hoards money, opportunities, right? All of these things. We can fix that. It's easily fixable with few tweaks in our social system, but we don't even consider it because having this conversation puts you down this, oh, it's a millennial, it likes to complain kind of a thing. No one is willing to have like enlightened conversations around these things. So Rutger Bregman's TED talk, poverty isn't a lack of character, it's a lack of cash, was my introduction to Rutger Bregman. Like I had no idea historian economists exist, but Rutger is one of those. He's a Dutch historian who specializes only in money, in the sense that money in the historical sense of the word money. So there you go. Okay, Anna has something. Did you notice a decrease in reading fiction and increase of non-fiction popularity? Oh, of course I did. Because, you know, fiction is fiction. Like, you know it is fiction. And then we have OTT, which is like Netflix and stuff like that. So you are consuming fiction while you're watching stuff. You are consuming fiction while you're reading stuff. I think that has put off a lot of people from consuming fiction because in the back of your head, you know someone's already going to make a series or movie out of this soon enough. Like, I'm in conversation with a few book agents, and this is literally in the book agent's pitch, which is they're gonna convert the book that you haven't even started writing. They're going to negotiate that deal in advance for the TV series or a documentary. It is so weird. So yeah, I have noticed that there is a decrease in reading fiction and an increase in non-fiction popularity. But non-fiction itself is, you can verify almost everything you read because it's based off of reality or speculative reality, right? So I, I have definitely noticed it. And I used to be a fan of fiction. I don't read a lot of fiction anymore. I'm mostly into non-fiction because, again, I like to confirm the things that I'm reading. And in the back of my head, I know the TV series already exists. Which, by the way, I saw that Sally Rooney TV series you recommended. Now, oh my God! Like I don't even know how she wrote that into a book. So yeah, I have bought that book and I'm planning to read the book too because after watching the TV series, I'm really intrigued as to how she covered this rhetoric in a book. Anyway, yeah, there you go. That was my blah blah about fiction, non-fiction. Moving on is Origin by Dan Brown. I like Dan Brown, so I read all Dan Brown books. You can sue me. I don't care. But yeah, you then you have Profiles of the Future by Arthur Clarke. Arthur Clarke, Arthur Clarke is a writer, a very prolific writer for a reason. Okay, like he writes the things you read, they'll make sense to you. You're like, yeah, it makes sense. I want to know more. So there you go. I think that the fiction has as well. Reading fiction is one of the most efficient methods. You're right, but the thing is, fiction these days, the other reason that I didn't want to mention, but now that you brought up, I'll mention one. The reason I've stopped reading fiction is the fiction that is being created these days is so morose or it is so immature. right? So either it's it's the spectrum is 50 Shades of Grey to 1984. This is the spectrum. You have very immature romantic fiction, or you have dystopian novellas that put you in a sort of depressive mood. So other reason I have stopped reading modern fiction, I do read a lot of classic fiction. I recently completed Circe by or Kerki, however you pronounce it, by Madeline Miller, which is about the goddess Paki, witch, so to speak. And I loved it. I loved reading every second of that book. But modern fiction is so weird. As I said, it's a 50 Shades of Grey to 1984 ka scale, and I don't want to be extremely pissed at wasting time reading 50 Shades type books, and I don't want to be sad by reading 1984 type books. So I made a choice for mental health uh, with regards to not reading a lot of modern fiction unless it seems something in my alley. Because books affect me. Books are true incident. There was a cyclone type thing that happened in Mumbai when I was going with a friend to Mangalore, and we were stuck on the Mumbai railway station. Uh, and I was reading Thousand Splendid Suns by Kal Singh, and I'm crying. Okay, I'm crying on the railway station with a Kindle in my hand. So this nice Punjabi uncle comes and he's like, Beta, don't worry, you'll be able to go home. I had to explain to uncle, no, I'm not crying because I can't go home. I'm crying because this book is really sad. So yeah, books affect me. Books affect me more than cyclones and being stuck in railway stations for hours. Uh, so yeah, coming to what Anna said, Sally Rooney was a revelation. I don't doubt it because I saw all people and I haven't read it, but I'm planning to. It's in my February TBR to be read. So there you go. Conversation with friends as well as normal people. I'm planning to read both. But yeah, she's a revelation, no doubt about that. And keep going back to the classics. Yes, I can't stop, right? Because it's like they're classics for a reason. And you can see it. You can see while you read them why they're classics for a reason. I love, I love a sad book too. That's why I was reading it while traveling and crying and traveling and crying. There you go. Almost every Khalid Hosseini book I've cried in public while reading, which says something about the skill of the writer, doesn't it? He writes so with so much emotion. It's like you can't help if you don't cry at these books, like your heart made of stone. Anyway, moving on, we have Chernobyl, the TV show. So Chernobyl, the TV show, if you haven't watched it, you have to watch it. It's very sad. Obviously, Chernobyl, the topic itself, tells you how sad it is. And I don't really know how to pronounce the name. Alexander Svetlonia. I have no idea. But the book called Voices of Chernobyl. Okay, the TV series is largely based on that book, and I had read that book, and I was gobsmacked by reality being written down in a book because we often forget, there is a human cost to tragedies like Chernobyl, and the book shows you the stories, and then you watch this TV series and you realize that, oh my God, so many people actually went through this, and to this day they probably don't have closure because the government, given USSR, they won't really admit to so many things. They definitely didn't have any closure to this entire sad thing that happened. So Chernobyl, the HBO TV series, is one of the best TV screenwriting I have seen in my life because they use, again, this is probably a little bit of a controversial opinion, but they use the fact that the audience is not well informed to their merit so spectacularly. It is amazing to watch. So yeah, that's one TV series that you should check out. Then there's George Carlin stand-up. So I done a rant. Okay, it's an article I worked on. It was a rant on climate change. It's up on my website, infinityshape.com, on the blogs bit because the essays I write, they have nuance. The blogs, they're mostly opinions. So the rant that I did, and that's where I stumbled across the George Carlin stand-up bit where he goes, "Oh, the Earth will be fine. Humanity, though, the Earth will wipe us off like a bad case of fleas." And I was like, "Oh my God, it's a comedian. I have to know more." So I went through all of his stand-up, and oh my God, has the man got it right? It was amazing. So yeah, I went through all the George Carlin stand-ups I could find, and I watched them. Then this, Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This is a spectacular book. This is a book I did not really expect to learn much from, but I did because Trevor Noah, if you're a fan I watch it on YouTube, but it's original on Comedy Central, I think, the Daily Show with Trevor Noah. He does this thing called Between the Scenes, where he talks about some very non-funny real life things and the kind of nuance that he does it with. I don't know whether he does it on his own or whether the screenwriter does it for him. I have no idea. But the nuance that you see in between the scenes kind of made me go, okay, let me see how he's written the story of his life. And oh my God, he's done it so well. And there are so many things that, and I think this holds true for the book series that I have done with my friends called Zoom and all. We forget the universality of the human experience. So Africa during apartheid and post-apartheid, uh, or apartheid, however it's pronounced, all these things. You as an Indian living in India dealing with brown skin, uh, even if we are a predominantly brown country, I'm still given a lot of X from family members and such about become fair, apply this on your face and you'll probably become white. And it's like, oh my God, no, get over it, people. But yeah, we think that this is just a thing about the race we are born with, but often it's not just race. And this book coming from somebody who deals with the race issue on a different level. Because in Africa, we forget that even black on black crime is a big thing. Uh, Similarly, black on white crime, white on black, it's all over the place. So when you have a half white, half black, you're probably going to see discrimination there for sure. Because it's like you don't really have a club you could belong to. So the kind of nuance that I got from this book, I could relate to it a lot, even if I'm not a half, and I'm not a mixed race, I'm 100% Indian. Uh, the, I relate to a lot of it in terms of discrimination, gender-based discrimination, color-based discrimination, social, so social discrimination, as in you're from a middle class family, you're a Gujarati, what would you know? Stuff like this. So yeah, this was good book. Then there is a TED talk called How to Change Behavior by Anne Lee. This is also like an article I have done. It's in the essay section on vinityshay.com called How Do Good Ideas Go Awry? So Dan Ariely, he writes great research papers, and generally he does it with other scientists, like lots of them. I think he does it to maintain nuance, and I really appreciate that about him and the research papers that he does. So I read one of his research papers, which he talks about in this TED talk, uh, which is again you could check out my article. I'm doing a little bit of clickbait here. go, go to vinityshay.com. Essays, how good ideas go awry. That talks about the research that is done by Dan Ariely. It's mostly about how nobody is bad. Like every person in history, they had a good intention at heart. And then things started going on spectacularly. So yeah, that study kind of shows you how and why. Then there's Inferno by Dan Brown. As I said, I read every Dan Brown book. Then Batman Dark Knight by Nolan. This too, Christopher Nolan, in my in not just my opinion, like so many people have this opinion. He's a great director. Like he's a great leader, I think, because everyone that works with him kind of whether it's the person who does the sound, whether it's the actors, whether it's the cinematographers, all of it. He just knows how to get people to give their best, I think. And the Dark Knight trilogy had color, I think, done used very symbolically. So yeah, this is what I've made notes about in all the three Batman movies. I'm a Batman fan. Apologies if yeah. So that's what it is. In the shape of story by Kurt Vonnegut. So this and Aristotle's Poetics. If you are a writer, okay, if you are a writer, these are two things that I recommend you check out immediately because the kind of nuance you get in these essay type things, they're not really books. They are more like a long form content. So yeah, check that out for sure. Then there's Made in Heaven. It's a TV series in India by a director I admire a lot named Zoya episodes. So essentially, you should check it out. And I apologize if the video because somebody called me, even if my phone is airplane mode. I don't know how they did that. It was probably a FaceTime. Anyway, moving on, there is more Brown, more Aaron Sorkin, Westworld, again for sci-fi, The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli, and you should also read Machiavelli's The Prince because it is one of those books that that kind of shows you a retrospect in history that nothing else probably would. And there's Yes Please by Amy Poehler. If you want to see a book written in a funny way, this is one thing you definitely check out because writing humor is very difficult. Even if it is humor that has to be acted out, it's difficult. So the fact that it has been done so well tells you a lot about the skill of the writer. There is Yuval Noah Harari's coronavirus article. Uh, this is one thing. I think it came in Financial Times, and you should definitely read that article. And so many he wrote this article during the first lockdown. So the fact that he predicted so many things to the T, right? And he's not Bill Gates, doesn't have access to so much information. He's just a historian, right? And the fact that he did it tells you so much about this person. I did not manage to finish. Yeah, it's boring. It's very boring. Uh, but if you are like into history, I'm into history a lot. Uh, and especially the Medici family. Medici family is so weird, right? Uh, I mean, yeah, I found Medici family to be very fascinating. So I have read a little bit into the European history side of things, which is why reading The Prince was not as boring for me, given the historical context involved, because Machiavelli uses a lot of, lot of actual history while trying, and this is popular speculation, which is that Machiavelli wrote that book to gain favor of the king that exiled him, right? He wanted to get back to being a diplomat, uh, which he was not able to do, obviously. But yeah, I understand. Then there is another comment, which is Anna again. Thank you so much for doing the whole thing, Anna. If I haven't appreciated you already, I do. I appreciate you so much. Harari is amazing. Oh, I have read all of his books. I have also purchased his graphic novel. He has done a graphic novel about sailing. It is amazing. Okay, like check it out. It's funny. This is something you don't expect Harari to be, but he is. So yeah, that's the only one of his works that I haven't read yet. The Sapiens, the graphic novel. But I'll complete it soon enough before February comes around. And he's amazing. I also love listening to the conversations he puts out on his YouTube channel. Uh, he feels like a wise person, not just in book but in real life. So there's that. Yeah, everything related to the Renaissance is fascinating. I agree. I love it. I love everything about history. If I'm being very honest, whether it's Indian history, Japanese history, uh, European history. Yeah, history is fascinating. It shows you what not to do, and we do the same thing again and again. Anyway, then there's the Jack Carr series, Terminal List to Believers Sabbath Sun. So I heard Jack Carr on Joe Rogan Experience, where he talks about being in armed military service, simultaneously plotting a book novel, and it's not a great series, but you will not want to put it down. So this is one of the modern books I enjoy reading, and I'm waiting on part 4 and 5 to come out. And when I kind of PM'd Jack on Instagram, being like, please bring Reese. Reese is the titular character of book to India, and he was like, I'm thinking about it, and I was like, oh my god. So there you go. The author is nice. He replies to people who read his book on Instagram, uh, apparently on Twitter too. So there you go. And for those of you who don't like reading books and just watching the movies, uh, this one, Chris Pratt is going to play Reese, and there's going to be a Amazon TV series or movie about this book. So there you go. Have fun with it whenever it comes out. Next one is a book that I have read in English, and I'm so fascinated by this book that I picked it up and read it in Japanese. And I think this one is probably the next Murakami. Okay, like she's going to do it. She'll become the next Murakami or the next Kazuo Ishiguro. And she's going to be in every book recommendations or authors to read list ever. She's called Meiko Kawakami, and her book Breast and Eggs is fascinating in the sense that it is so honest. Okay, like those of you who are not data, you guys don't really know how gender dynamics are so different in Asia from what it is in the West, right? So the East and the West quite literally in terms of gender dynamics differs in our respective countries. And it applies to something like if you want to adopt a child or you want to have a child via non-natural methods, it's so hard to do that in Asia compared to in the West. Uh, like the way she captures that phenomena in a fictional book, the way she captures how, despite being poor, we have to put on like this thing about uh, being prosperous because otherwise, you will catch a lot of crap from family and friends and all of that. The way she has captured this, uh, it is, you have to read Breast and Eggs by Mirko Kawakami. If you read Japanese, if you understand Japanese, I don't really speak a lot of Japanese, but I understand and read a lot of it. The way she changes between accents, it is one of the most spectacular things I've seen a writer do ever. And dialects actually, not accent, dialects. She shifts dialects in the book, and she doesn't do it very directly, but the way she does it, it implies such a subtle message. I think that is such a rare skill. So yeah, you should check out Miyako Kawakami's book. Breast and Eggs is the best work so far, and I'm sure she's going to come up with so much more in the future. So uh, Gambatsene on that. Thank you so much, Dharampa Singh Tyagi. I'm glad you like to speak. I wanted to do something like this on LinkedIn because this is my job. This is literally my job, writing, reading, talking about these things. And I figured, why not? Even if the aesthetic doesn't include my face, it has my hand in it. It's amazing. I'm glad you like it. I love the book in notes. Yes, I love the book in the notes too. Moving on to the next one, which is the Ajoro Experience podcast with Naval Ravika. And I think that they Naval Ravika book, people are going to kind of freak the heck out and buy that book immediately because the kind of knowledge he drops during this podcast, and we had a whole Twitter series about how you can get rich instead of just saying have passive income and then that's it. He actually goes into details. So yeah, this is a podcast. I have taken a lot of notes from that podcast. Then you have Kylie Reid's Such a Funny. This was a good book to read about, uh, so to speak, because again, we don't have black on white races. Okay, bye Anna. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll go back to what I was saying. We don't really have race-based racism in India. We have more like caste-based casteism, right? We have a higher caste, lower caste, stuff like that. Not very direct, but very passive-aggressive stuff. In some places, it becomes very direct, but like that's very rare. Uh, Similarly, to see that in the States, that happens with with race. It was nice. It was nice in the sense of it was good to know that human beings find ways to be shitty to each other uh, everywhere by using different logic. In India, we've come up with caste, and in the States, they have come with caste. So there you go. People being shitty, a regular day, so to speak. Moving on, there's the death of time by Shaya Loni. I have to thank Mr. A LinkedIn Connection and now Soul Sisters for that. She told me, if you like Harry Potter, you have to read this fan fiction. And I was like, too old to read fan fiction. And she was like, you have to read fan fiction. For me, do it, do it. And I was like, fine, I'll do it. And 48 hours later, 48 hours later, I'm not kidding. Yeah, I'm a fan. So that's a fan fiction about Sirius Black and Hermione Granger. Yes, I know it sounds weird, but you have to read it to know what I'm talking about. So yeah, it was fun time pass read, so to speak. You will the guilty pleasure part of your brain will activate everywhere with the rhetoric, so to speak. So there you go. And that's my book, Shark Week. I obviously read my book, not just while editing it, but after editing it as well, because I was like, I can't be one of those shit that doesn't buy their own book. So I bought my own book and I read it, and I took some notes from it. Primarily, the notes I took were where I could improve. Because while the book is nice, there are so many places where it can be improved. So one of these days, yeah, I'm going to get to talk to all my co-authors, and we're going to launch version 2 of the book again on Kindle Direct Publishing. Because yeah, we don't want to pay more money to the publishing houses than they already have. Then Leonardo da Vinci. So I went on a Da Vinci spiral about 6 months ago. I've always been a fan of Da Vinci, but what I didn't really know was Da Vinci was a pedophile, right? So, hi there, Shrikant Sridhar. Uh, what I didn't know was Da Vinci was a pedophile, and I was like, I cannot believe Leonardo da Vinci is a pedophile. Like, you don't want your hero to be flawed, degenerate, if that word. So I looked up as much as I could, and in doing so, I found out something which I didn't really find out, but yeah. So yeah, I admire Leonardo da Vinci, the thinker, the artist, the painter, but not the person anymore. That's what the notes is about. Disappointing sound and sad cat sound. Because it was so upsetting to find out that Da Vinci wasn't as amazing as you would want him to be as a person he was to be. Then my page ran out, so I took a little note and used it and attached it to it. There's Earth Children's series by Jen Hall. This is a great book. If you are into understanding anthropological history and science, uh, and what I mean is this is not a non-fiction book, this is a fiction book, right? So if you want to really understand something, if you turn stories, if you turn to stories, you'll understand them more, right? Like, okay, I'm going to do a YouTube video about it soon enough, like a video essay. But on maps, on the olden maps, they used to put sea monsters. Okay, they used to put sea monsters on the map to kind of denote this is an area you don't go to. So around Arvaidi, which is a gigantic like whirlpool type situation, they had put Scylla the monster who eats men, sailors. She eats men, literally. There's no Scylla there. Basically, it's a whirlpool that will suck your shit. So this is what history used to do, right? And so telling people that I don't go there, it is dangerous. Because if you tell that to people, young teenagers will be like, no, I'll do it. I'll go there. And then they will die. So instead, they came up with monsters and myths and legends to dissuade people from going to these places. But then obviously, Odysseus went and defeated Scylla, but we don't talk about that right now. That is for the YouTube thing. Uh, Stories are so much easier to relate to. And Earth Children series, in that regard, I think did a spectacular job by creating a sapien that lived with a Neanderthal, then moved away from Neanderthals and lived with other sapiens, right? And when we really think about it, uh, there are so many things we take for granted in our daily existence, like speech, for instance, medicine, for instance, what to eat, what not to eat. All these were salt, right? Salt. What we forget is that it was not available. People had to live near the ocean or know that you have to lick mineral rocks, stuff like this. So yeah, this series does a spectacular job in humanizing the Neanderthal to sapiens transition. So yeah, if you are into those topics, this is a good fictional series I'd recommend. Then this is Sources of Japanese Edition Volume 1. A LinkedIn connection actually recommended this book. Uh, I don't really know how to pronounce her name, so I'm not even going to try, but she's a professor at university in Japan. And I asked her about the mixture of Shintoism and Buddhism, uh, which is practiced in Japan. And she was like, instead of me answering your question, why don't you check out this book? So I did read volume 1. Volume 2, I haven't read yet. It was awe-inspiring. Uh, and it was a very fascinating glance at Japanese uh, in the mythological sense of the word, right? Because, as I said, every culture has gods and goddesses and like monsters and myths and legends and stuff like that. And there is like kernels of truth and reality to that as well. So it was great to read this book with context of history, you know. Then there's Seth Godin's podcast. I went on a podcast kind of three. Listened to a lot of those. That was fun. He is the ultimate freelancer. So yeah, I took many notes from the things that he did because Purple Cow has to be one of the single most fascinating uh, analogies I have seen. Period. Like I think nobody created a better analogy than purple cow. And for him to do that, not just as a marketer but as a writer, there has to be so many levels of insight involved. So obviously his podcast dropped knowledge. So heard a lot of those, then bought his masterclass. Now waiting to watch his masterclass whenever I get the time. Lastly, is by Output Management by Andrew Grove. This former IBM CEO, come person who brought IBM to the map. He has some great management techniques. I need to learn management because I'm very bad at time management. I cannot manage time. So, yeah, that's predominantly why I wanted to read that book, and I'm glad that I did. I completed it today itself, which is why this notebook got over. So there you go. Make notes, okay, as much as possible. Always remember to note down who the notes are from, right? Like so that you don't end up unconsciously copying someone else's idea. So that when you are acknowledging people in your books, essays, articles, etc., you know exactly who you have to thank. Because literally, if somebody inspires you and you don't thank them, that's you being so ungrateful, right? So make notes, make properly organized notes, and if there's any questions, leave those in the comments. I'll reply to them whenever I can or whenever LinkedIn gives me a notification. Because it has been giving me notifications till 1 week later, which is so weird. If you give notifications, give it now, no? But anyway, so that's it for this live. I hope you enjoyed the Instagram rhetoric, the Instagram aesthetic that this live has. And I hope you like my tiny little bookshelf. I use this tiny little bookshelf uh, from how do I say this? Like somebody's wedding invitation ka cover. Okay, so there you go. So I'm gonna end the live now. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye bye. If you haven't already, find me on all the platforms: LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Go to my website, dinesh.com, if you have the time. If you have any feedback, feel free to drop the feedback to me. My newsletter and all that hasn't activated yet, but when I do, sign up for my newsletter. And if you want, you can become my Patreon. But again, that all hasn't activated yet. As soon as I do, I'll let you guys know in a LinkedIn post. I'll let you guys know in a LinkedIn post. Spam alert. There you go. So, bye-bye now. Have a good day. Thank you so much for joining.